Batch cooking is one of my favorite things to do while I'm making dinner for one night to be able to make multiple other meals. It doesn't take any extra dishes or really any extra time, and then I can put meals away in the freezers. So follow along while we make some chicken enchiladas today. If you're just meeting me, my name is Amy Cross and this is the Cross Legacy, where I teach you how to save money on groceries. Our grocery budget is $135 per person, and currently we are empty nesters, so our grocery budget for the month is $270. And we're able to stick to that grocery budget by using versatile items when we're making meals, and that way we're able to have a great variety of new meals using the same type of ingredients. At the beginning of 2025, I started putting out meals videos every 2 weeks. So currently we are on meals number 19 that we are working on right now. But every 2 weeks, these meals videos go out. And the very first meal video I did way back in January, I made some chicken enchiladas that were batch cooked. And so many people have asked for that recipe that we are filming that today. So today I am using some canned enchilada sauce. I like to keep 1 or 2 of these in the pantry just because they are so handy. But with some simple pantry items, you can make your own enchilada sauce. All you need is tomato sauce, chicken broth, and some seasoning. I will link Preppy Kitchen's recipe for homemade enchilada sauce down in the description if you want to make it totally from scratch. I am going to use a can of fire roasted green chilies in this also. And this is a great reminder for me because I only keep a couple of these on hand that I use throughout the year. Whenever I use one, that is when I go and write it down in my meal planner to make sure that I pick up another 1 or 2 at a time. I don't wait until I need the can of green chilies. I write it down as I use it. And I have about 3 pounds of shredded chicken here. It was 4 large chicken breasts. I'll talk about how I cooked it in just a second, but I want to talk about all these ingredients first. Right now is pepper season, and I was able to get humongous peppers for 50 cents a piece. So by just adding $1 to this recipe, I'm going to be able to really stretch my meat budget out and make a lot more enchiladas. And we have 1 vegetarian in our family, so I'm going to make sure that theirs doesn't have any chicken in it and we have the extra veggies in their enchiladas. And I chopped up 1 onion that is here in the glass jar. If I did this ahead of time and not this morning, then I would have been able to put a metal lid on this and put it in the refrigerator, and you can chop an onion and it will stay fresh in the refrigerator for over a week, and you won't get any smelly onion smells in your refrigerator. The same thing with the peppers. So normally as I'm meal prepping a dinner, I would just cut up a little bit of extra peppers, and then I don't have to do so much meal prep when I'm going to make the enchiladas that day. I have some shredded cheese here. I just happen to use any cheese that I have on hand. This is sharp cheddar cheese that I'm going to be using today, and you just measure with your heart. So this is about 2 to 3 cups. I might end up adding a little bit more. We will see. The shredded cheese is also something, if you shred up extra, you can put it in a glass jar with a metal lid in the refrigerator and it will stay fresh for many months. I did get a large package of flour tortillas at Costco when I went grocery shopping. I love being able to keep an extra package of these in the freezer so I can make breakfast burritos or enchiladas at any time. And I'm going to be making these a couple different ways today. So we're going to make 1 pan of them that I will put it in the oven, and that would be a dinner size portion that might have a little bit of leftovers for a lunch, but I'm also going to show you how I put them straight into the freezer without cooking them. We're going to start by putting a half a cup of enchilada sauce in the 3 pounds of chicken. I don't normally measure it, I'm just doing it for the sake of sharing this. This is 4 large chicken breasts that ends up being about 3 pounds of chicken that I shredded up. I cooked this in the Instapot for around 20 minutes because those chicken breasts were stuck together. If they were not stuck together, then you would only have to cook it in the Instapot in the chicken poultry setting for about 15 minutes. If you had thawed out chicken, then it would only need about 8 minutes in the Instapot. We'll have all of those instructions in the description for the blog post that will lead you to the recipe. So I added about a cup of enchilada sauce into the shredded chicken, and I'm going to mix that all up. So this is real life here, and I'm actually making this meal to put in my freezer, not just for videos. So I'm going to take a little bit of this green chili and put it in a bowl so I can make that vegetarian one, and the rest will go into this bowl. But normally I would just dump the whole can into the bowl if I wasn't making it for my kiddo. And I'm going to do the same thing with the peppers and the onion. I'm going to put a little bit in this other container, and then everything else is going to go into the big bowl that has the chicken. You're going to see me do this same thing, making the side one that's vegetarian and into the larger bowl that's for everyone. So I'm going to divide this up. If you are just making it for everyone, then you could just put the whole pepper into the chicken. So I normally just put the raw onions straight into the bowl, but if you wanted to cook down the onions and make them brown a little bit more to not have that bite of an onion flavor, you can do that also, but I find that they bake out just fine in the oven. So I am going to open up a can of beans and add some of the beans here to this bowl for the vegetarian one, and they do eat cheese, so that works out well for me, but this is a really good example of how I've been able to deal with picky eaters, vegetarians, or deal with the allergies that we have in our family. Just making something a little bit different at the same time has been a game changer for us. I rinsed these black beans. I'm going to put some in this separate bowl, and then I'm just going to dump the rest in here. You don't have to add beans to your enchiladas, but I find I'm adding vegetables, the beans, the meat, and then a flour tortilla. This is a complete meal all in one. I mixed everything together here with the mixture, and it doesn't seem like it's too dry. If I needed to add a little bit more enchilada sauce at this point, you can just do it. It's kind of an eyeball thing to add more if you need it, but you don't want it too drippy. And this vegetarian one, I'm also going to add the enchilada sauce and some cheese into. Found the easiest way to do this is to use a large dinner plate or another casserole dish, and I'm going to put a little bit of sauce here on the plate, and that way I can put both sides of the tortilla in the sauce. And then I'm also going to put a little bit of sauce at the bottom of the casserole dish just so it doesn't burn on the bottom. This is where things can get messy. There's no other way but to get your hands in there. I have washed my hands like 15 times already. So I'm going to take one of the flour tortillas and dip it on both sides in the sauce. And then I'm going to add some of the filling and then put it in the casserole dish. I'm just making 4 enchiladas right now, and this one closest to me is that vegetarian one, and I'll show you what I do. But I still have a ton of enchilada mixture left over, and I'll show you the different ways that I normally store this so it's really easy for extra meals. But for this one that's going to go into the oven, I'm going to add a little bit more enchilada sauce on the top, and then put a little bit more shredded cheese on the top. But then I also, so I can make sure that I know which one's the vegetarian one, I will put a little bit of the beans and the mixture on the top of that one so I can identify which one's the vegetarian. This one is all ready to go into the oven, and then I have the vegetarian one here clearly marked so I know which one that is for my kiddo. But you could also put this just like this straight into the freezer if it was covered. So if you don't have a top for your casserole dish, and I don't really like to use very much plastic wrap or tinfoil. So the other way that I do this is I make some in these Pyrex dishes that I have the lids for, and that way I can meal prep them and put them straight into the freezer. I make sure that I take them out of the freezer and I put them in the refrigerator for them to defrost. And then when I'm ready to put them in the oven, I will put it on a baking sheet on the bottom, and it just helps prevent it not to crack. And you want to put the dish in the oven as it's preheating so it all warms up together. That way you can have fully assembled enchiladas that are ready to go straight into the freezer. This one is going straight into the freezer. I just wrote with a Sharpie marker right here on the lid exactly what it was, so that way I know and don't forget that these are enchiladas. All right, now we are going to make some individual ones that I'm going to put into the freezer on this tray that has some wax paper. So I'm going to flash freeze them in the freezer for a few hours, and then I'm going to put them in whatever freezer safe container that you choose to put it into. Gallon-sized bags work amazing, but so do larger glass containers. So for these ones that are going to go straight into the freezer, I'm going to do the same process of putting the sauce on the outside of them, but I am going to add a little bit more cheese to this because I don't put cheese on the top of it. And then I find this is a complete meal for us to have for lunches also. So we warm these up in the oven or the air fryer. Okay, I washed my hands for the 1000th time already today, but I have a whole tray of enchiladas that are ready to go to the freezer. I'm going to let those freeze for a few hours, and then I'm going to put them in another container so they will last for many months in the refrigerator. And then if I had any enchilada mix left, but I used exactly all of it, then I could also store the mixture in the freezer in a container, and that is especially handy if you run out of tortillas while you're making this. And those enchiladas went into the oven for 20 minutes. The timer just dinged. I just got done with all of this and filming it. And so I was able to make 18 servings of enchiladas while the dinner was cooking. So this large tray fits exactly into my upright freezer, and I have enough room in my freezer to do this, to flash freeze it like this. But if you don't have enough room in your freezer to do it like this, you can individually wrap these in parchment paper and then put them directly into the freezer container that you're going to be using. So this is all 18 of the enchiladas I made, the ones that we are going to eat right away, some that are going to go into the freezer for another dinner, and then these will probably be Mike and my lunches over the next couple months, which is just really handy to have a complete meal like this all together that we can eat, and we know it's wholesome and allergy friendly for us. This is one of those things that I just kind of eyeball the ingredients as we're putting it in, but we'll make sure to list the exact ingredients and measurements that I used today. So if you want to make this for yourself, and know that you can make it in the half portion also. If you're new to my channel, make sure that you're hitting subscribe, and I answer all of the questions and comments that come through on YouTube. That is a really big part of my day, to make sure that I'm connecting with you and answering questions.